Hello and welcome to Marriage Moment. I'm Jason. This is Renee. Not marriage counselors, not marriage experts, just married forever and really believe in the power of a good marriage. And if you're a Jesus follower, I am convinced that you should have the best marriage.
Yeah.
Because God created marriage. He created you. He has a purpose for marriage. It's not random. And if he created and has a purpose for something, he has a plan for it. Mm-hmm. When you follow his plan, your marriage can be amazing. And that's what these videos are all about. We have been for the last, I don't even know how long it's been so long, looking at these two books. We're taking just kind of a shallow, scraping the surface of the chapters of these books, hoping that you can kind of dig deeper on your own and do your own research and your own study, because you have to invest in marriage. You have to. So we are on the For Men Only book today, and as I read the very first chapter, or the very first sentence of this chapter, it became obvious that this was going to be complicated. Because we're going to talk about sex, and this is just for the men. But the first thing he says was, we have to do this. We have to do this one sentence, two phrase thing. Think clearly about having sex. So, we're not going to get all emotional, we're not going to get defensive, we're not going to do any of that. We're going to open up our brains, and we're going to think clearly about having sex. So let's think clearly, and let's talk about we're going to dive in. The Men's Only book is to help us understand the mind of a woman. So, let's do that.
Okay. So, one of the things when we first started reading this chapter that we realized this is something, probably the one thing that makes it so hard in a marriage, once you start realizing this is hard, is that we have this mindset that we enter marriage and we're basically the same people. Like, we have the same wiring and we're just made the same, and that's actually not true at all.
Yeah, that's so obvious to most of us, right? If you've ever talked to somebody who's a different gender than you, different sex than you, you know real quick you're different. And it is a huge mistake to think that you're the same, think that you're wired the same, especially when it comes to this whole area of your sex life in marriage. Yeah. So we have to embrace those differences. The reason we are so different, I think one of the reasons, it's probably a whole bunch, but I think one of the reasons that God created us so different is when we learn to embrace those differences, it really is a beautiful thing. And you can see how, where God just made us like a puzzle piece to fit together.
Mm-hmm. It's cool.
It is cool.
So we're gonna go through 5 truths that they give.
5 truths.
5 truths about your woman sexually, and then 4 things that an ordinary husband can do. So this first truth has to do with the fact, this is a fact, that most women have a lower sex drive, and it's driven by
than a
man. And it's driven by the different hormones that she was given by God. And so a man is given hormones that give him an assertive desire as far as sex, when it comes to sex, and then a woman, her hormones are giving her receptive desire. So what that looks like when you apply that is that the woman is not usually the one that's going to initiate sex. That's just not the way she's designed. And it's just the way her lower desire, it means it has nothing to do with not wanting you and wanting to have sex. It's that lower desire because of the hormone and the wiring.
I think that's brilliant. I think that's God's design at work there. If we were both the same, if we both had assertive hormones, you have assertive.
Right.
If we both had receptive hormones, then it's receptive. And that just doesn't fit together. And God understands that, and that's the way he wired us. One of us is wired for assertiveness, the other is wired for receptiveness.
It actually makes a lot of sense when you understand that.
Like putting 2 magnets together. Both positive ends repel each other. Both negative ends repel each other, but the positive and the negative attract.
Right. So the very beginning of that little section with that first truth, it said, the man enters that with thinking sex is free and fun in our marriage, why doesn't my wife want a whole lot of free fun?
Makes sense in the male brain.
Yeah, but it's that lower level of desire because of her hormones. It's just the way she was created. So
Yeah.
just understanding that one little truth could make a huge
Could be
difference.
a game changer.
Yeah. So the second truth is that she needs more warm-up time than the man.
His example was a guy has just popped the clutch and go.
Yeah. And a woman is a crock pot.
A woman's a crock pot. You gotta let it stew.
Yeah, so that either means that she needs you to take it slow, or she needs you to give her some anticipation time. Like a little text in the day, or a little note,
Yep.
or just calling or saying something, so that she knows she might be able to expect to be ready for that.
In a man's brain, a man can turn on sexual desire in a heartbeat. It does not happen for women.
Yeah.
That hormone, whatever it is different. It activates differently.
Right.
One is instant, one takes time.
It has to do with the wiring.
100%.
So that leads us into truth number 3. I thought this was funny the way they said it. But
I'm not sure I like this
I
one.
know. The men need to understand, and it's because of this sexual wiring that the culture has made us think that women are turned on by a man's physical appearance and the way he looks and just the muscles and all the stuff. When actuality, the truth is, because of the way we're wired, that stuff actually does not turn us on instantly.
I guess they were trying to explain the difference between attractive and turned on.
Yeah.
Of course, you're attracted to people you choose to be attracted to. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that one.
I know.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Ted Lasso when he says the truth will set you free, but first it'll really make you mad.
Yeah, I think what they were definitely saying is that for a man, their wiring is when they see an attractive woman, especially their wife, it instantly turns them on.
We're complete and total visual creatures.
Very.
Men are. We see something, and that's all we need.
And women are not.
Not at all.
So, and I think that probably has different levels for women. Some women, they did have some in there that the women actually stated that they were not turned on by the physical appearance of their husband at all. And so I think that kind of plays into, we need to understand that that's a different wiring setup, and that it really is important that we take care of ourselves.
Yeah, I don't think
For
that's
each
an
other.
excuse for me or the men to just let it go.
No.
You know, that's not an excuse. We need to be healthy and do everything
Yeah.
we can to be healthy. But we do need to realize that she is not turned on visually the way
The
we are
way a
turned
man
on
is. Yeah.
visually.
That's what
That's
they
the
were saying.
important distinction.
Yeah. So we have lower sex drive because of our wiring. We need more time to warm up. We are not visually wired like a man is as far as sex goes. And then the fourth truth is, this is so true, for a woman, sex actually starts in our heart.
100%.
If we have been treated well throughout the week,
Cherished, respected, loved,
yeah, spoken to,
heard, listened.
yeah, taken care of, we feel connected because you have been just doing things to help me and saying things, and just we're emotionally connected. When it's like that, I'm already ready. That's where it starts for me and for a woman, in her heart. And that actually is tied to her body's ability to respond.
There you go. That whole physical hormone
Yeah.
thing connected to your heart.
So big. The fifth truth, this is the last truth. She wants pleasure just as much as the man. But if it's not happening, and they're talking about the ending of the sexual act, the climax, if you have not figured that out for your wife, then you have to understand, you have to think about that for yourself as a man. If you know that when you enter into this, there is not going to be a pleasure ending, then she may be reluctant to even enter into this as much as
Right.
you would like her to.
You said earlier, if you knew every time you got that you were going to run a race. If you knew you were never going to finish the race,
Right.
why would you bother starting?
Yeah. It would be hard to start it. That's what they were saying.
Are you following what we're saying here? Are you picking up what we're putting down?
Yeah. So if there's a problem in that area,
Figure
get
it
some
out.
help.
Yeah,
Figure
for
it out.
sure. Get some help. That is a huge thing.
Yeah.
A good place to start right here. Don't email me or Renee. We are not going to help you with that. However, there are some great resources.
There are. Yeah. And you can fix that. That can be fixed.
Absolutely. It's that whole thing of always learning.
Yeah.
Always learning about your spouse.
Always improving.
Always improving you so you can improve your marriage.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that leads us into what is a guide. There are 4 things.
What the heck are we supposed to do with these differences and your crazy
Yeah.
hormones and
Yeah.
all these things?
And
What do
I
we
know
do?
it's a lot. It's
It
a
is
lot
a
of
lot.
information.
Y'all are a lot.
Yeah, we are. We're worth it though.
You are 100% worth it.
So the 4 things that you can do. This is huge, and especially if you are in the season in your life of young children, school-age children, teenagers. It's so different when you're not in that season as far as, just the sexual part of your marriage. But if you could, men, if you could pay attention to your wife outside of the bedroom, and it says, and I underline these words, help her out. And it said, it's the little things. It's like helping with supper every once in a while, maybe once or twice a week. Helping with the dishes, helping with the housework, or hire a maid every once in a while if you're able to do that. Letting your wife know early in the day, once a week or something, especially if you have young children, we are ordering dinner or we're going out tonight, you don't have to cook. Taking some of that off of her plate so that she has a little extra energy, because I don't think guys truly understand. I don't think you're able to understand how hard it is to be a mom, to hold down a job, to have all the stuff going on in the house and the shopping, the cooking, the cleaning, and then also to be even thinking about being ready to be with your husband. It's so exhausting.
Yeah.
And so she needs some help, and it would help so much in the sexual side of the marriage if there is some help from the husband.
So number 1, guys, one thing we can do is just help pay attention
Yeah.
to her and her needs and what's going on in her life outside of the bedroom.
Yeah.
Second
It's
thing.
so big. So the second thing you can do, guys, is to give chase.
Pursue.
Yeah, to pursue. It makes a woman feel sexy to her man when she knows that he is pursuing. And this is just calls, texts, notes, romantic flirting, touching throughout the day, to always be giving chase. That's a big deal to a woman. The third thing is that anticipation time. Giving her some time so that she can be warmed up and ready and anticipating that.
He even said in the book that a huge percentage of the women they surveyed preferred to know it was on a calendar.
Yeah.
Right? It was scheduled.
Yeah. So they
Which
would
is crazy
be
to
ready.
me. Yeah. Yeah. So they could have that anticipation time of being ready.
Yeah. That does seem crazy. But
Interesting.
yeah. And then the
Get my
fourth
calendar.
one. The fourth one is when you're in doubt, guys, ask.
Yeah. That seems so like duh. But it's an area where we're gun shy. We're not sure
Yeah.
as men what we should ask, but when it comes to your marriage and when it comes to your sex life, you have to be willing to put everything on the table.
Yep.
Nothing is off limits. You have to be willing to talk about all of it.
Yeah, so I remember when we went through kind of a rough season, and it was when the kids were young. It was a struggle to find time to talk about what we needed to talk about, not just the struggle of being hard to talk about it. There wasn't time to talk
Right.
about it. And so that's when we started emailing, and we could read it over and over and then respond when we couldn't. It was kind of exciting to get an email back and a response. So that's when we started really communicating, and we just had to do it through email. But it was little things like we were finding out what each other liked and what we didn't like. and what made us, what turned us on. And then we got into reading books and learning how to be a better spouse for each other as far as sexual things. And so, and when we have hit places where we felt like we needed help, we have gone and gotten help. We have not been afraid to do that, and it is hard, but we have that motto somewhere in there along the ways. It's been 33 years. We had decided we always want to be improving, always learning, and always getting better in every area of our marriage, but especially this one because it's so important. And so the very bottom part of this, that when we were looking through this chapter, was just thinking through how fulfilling sex is in a marriage when it's a Christian marriage, a God-ordained marriage, a woman and a man, understanding each other and being connected, and then fulfilling each other's needs as far as sex. It's so fulfilling. There is no other thing in our marriage or in life that does that for us. It's so important. And I had written down that there's a little bit of a mystery to it, and I think God created it that way. He
100%.
Designed it that way.
Paul said there is more to sex than just flesh on flesh.
Yeah.
It is a mystery.
It's a mystery, which is kind of a cool thing.
It is.
And then it also, I think this is good for families that are just going in every direction all the time, and that it is a stress relief. It is actually a gift of stress relief that God designed for our marriage, that we need to remember we do that for each other. And it's a huge thing, a huge gift that we give each other.
I'm glad you said what you said about, well, let me just back up and say, because this is on YouTube, these videos are influenced by algorithms, and I don't understand how they work, but the moment you say the word sex, or it's going to be in the title of this, that means it's pushed out to people's YouTube sources, and just with that title, not understanding who we are, what these things are about. And I'm so glad you said that what we are talking about in these videos is our steadfast belief that God created us. We are His creation. He created men, and He created women, and He created sex for a man and a woman in a marriage blessed by Him. Period. The
Absolutely.
end. And when you honor those, I'm not going to call them restrictions because they're not, but when you honor those boundaries, when you keep sex in those boundaries, like keeping a fire in a fire pit, it is so good. It is so helpful. It is so useful. When you get it out of those boundaries, it becomes dangerous. And so I just want to make sure we're all on the same page watching the video, that we are Jesus followers. We believe Jesus created us and marriage, and He has a plan for marriage. And I think it's sad that more Christians don't talk about sex, because our Creator made it, and He's got the best plan for it. And to be silent in that conversation is to be stupid. And so that's why we're not really too afraid to just throw this out on YouTube and get some weird comments sometimes and some weird questions. We just want you to know the truth, and we want you, if you're married, to have the best possible marriage you can have, and that comes by honoring what God said and living within those boundaries. Bye.